Our Bud Ice game summary. Broughton with 2 goals. Power play for New Jersey is 0 for 2, but it's underway once the period gets underway. The shots are 16-15 New Jersey. A lead after 2 in the playoffs. Pretty impressive for New Jersey. They've won 10 of 11. Power play begins with 1 minute and 8 seconds showing on the clock at the start of this third. Niedermeyer and Driver will be the point men. Broughton working up front with Randy McKay and John McLean. Kozlov as well as Fedorov, the forwards for Detroit's penalty kill. In back, Rouse along with Coffey. Ahead comes Broughton, gives to McLean. Wedged off. McLean check, puck back to Niedermeyer. To Driver for a shot. It's turned aside by Vernon. Played now by Fedorov and lobbed all the way back down.
Not only turned aside by Mike Vernon, but he put the rebound into the corner. That's the goaltender's job. Turn the rebound, the puck right into the corner.
Half a minute left on the power play. Niedermeyer could not go coast to coast this time. A pass in front is rustled loose by Airy, but kept by Stevens. Fires, and that blocked away by Bob Airy. Stevens again as the Devils come back over the line so that it can be an onside rush. A minute played in the third and 10 seconds left now on the power play. The Devils make another change in lines. Sergei Brylin brings it on. Brylin for New Jersey, trying to find an opening, pops it to the corner. Ramsey crosses with Guerin. Penalty time up. Ralston tried to center. Down to the ice he goes. Pulled it in with the glove and play is stopped. Red Wings asking right away why there is no penalty call on that. But both teams are going to ask Bill McCreary about non-calls the rest of the night because this is a 1-goal game.
What an important period this is for Scott Stevens, trying to win the Stanley Cup for the first time. Last season, his team was knocked out in a double overtime game against the New York Rangers, 7th game of the best-of-7 series. He, to this day, has never watched the tape of that game. Refuses to. It's a bad memory. And ever since this team lost that game, they've been on a mission. Now, maybe, with 18:40 to go and his team ahead by 1, he may be able to watch a lot of tape if his team wins the Cup.
Indeed. And yet, after that disheartening loss to the Rangers, they didn't change a thing about what they do or how they went about it. They didn't even change the track. Guerin bumped off. Ralston turning with it. Ciccarelli on him. And they hardly made changes in players.
The big addition of Neil Broughton, and he has 2 goals in this game, was the key change that this team made on the season.
Tisson puts it around behind. Turning with it is Chris Draper. Draper just lobs it back. Scott Stevens hands it over to Chambers. Both teams making a change again. Stevens lays it ahead. Follow-up comes from Lemieux. Shakes one in. Richer after it. Richer carried off by Batizov. Bob Rouse there. Flops it back down again. No icing on this, says Ray Scapanello, the linesman wearing number 29. Puck shot out of play at the timekeeper's table.
The puck was rolling down to the Devils' zone, and Kenny Danico tried to time it where he would touch the puck just after the puck went over the goal line. Instead, Ray Scapanello, the fine linesman, was right there on the play, waved it off. So Danico's timing was just off by a hair. He ended up taking the puck and firing it off the glass into the stands. Now Danico will chase the puck back. He can get there a little quicker if he needs to. So finally the referee said no icing. Now he's going to take a hit, put the puck into the stands, and all of a sudden, from what he thought may have been icing in a face-off in the Detroit zone, it becomes a face-off in his own zone. And Detroit has a chance, if they win the draw, to get some offense.
We mentioned earlier that there are 3 guys who have played together on this team for a dozen years. That's the longest any threesome has been together on one team that's currently in operation in the NHL. McLean and Driver and Danico. They have been through some very lean years. Fortunes of this franchise seemed to change in 1988 when they got to the 7th game of the 3rd round before losing to Boston. Kozlov with a pass ahead. McCarty had it taken by Coffey. Back for Darren McCarty. Checked off. And it's Danico hurrying it for Richer, but instead it's Fedorov. Round behind and Tommy Albaline to play. Albaline laid it just by Richer, and down Arhita had a clean-cut breakaway.
He cut in behind where Paul Coffey had been. Coffey's freelancing. He's acting like a rover a little bit. He was deep in the zone. Fedorov had covered up, and then he moved in. That left it open, and it nearly worked for the breakaway.
The crash line is out for New Jersey.
Fedorov's down. Now he's up. He was banged by McKay, and he's hurting as he gets to the bench. Big collision just in the neutral zone, Mike, and Fedorov's hurting.
Play stopped here. Fedorov was hunched over as he coasted to the bench.
It's tough when you run into a wall. Randy McKay is the wall, and here's Fedorov. He sees him, and boom. Fedorov's had trouble with a bad shoulder. He went down, but he got up. He said, I got to get to the bench, and he does. He may have been winded on the play, even though he has the bad shoulder. He did a lot of squats during the television timeout on the bench itself, and we'll see if he gets back for his next shift.
Big shot by Ramsey, and that one was wide. Lidstrom back to get it. Detroit trailing in the series 3-0. In the game, 3-2. Shots are 17-15 New Jersey overall. Low shot totals, but that's typical of a Devils game. Fed across now for Breland. Wedged off nicely by Ramsey. Yzerman for that one, banged it back off. Couldn't get it to Martin Lapointe. Trickled through, but the follow-up comes from Lidstrom. Then on to Krushelnyski. Detroit making a change in defense. Yzerman playing it ahead. Cicerelli worked one off of Breland's stick. Konstantinov was offside and play stopped.
Still seeing the good play by both teams within the rules that the players are allowed to play with. The interference, the picking, the holding. With the commissioner, Mr. Bettman, on during the intermission, I thought the best news of the interview was during next preseason, they're going to look at that. And I think the referees will be busy during the preseason next season at calling the interference and the holding and the clutching and grabbing and the picking. And the game's going to open up. And if the game opens up at all, it's fast, it's exciting, there'll be more goal scoring. And the players will have to adapt to it. I'm looking forward to that already.
Yeah, I am too. You think about the notion of size and how a lot of teams, including perhaps Detroit over the summer, will add more size for next year. How is that going to be affected? In terms of the size and also the fact that you're not going to be able to hold up an opponent that much anymore.
The only fear I would have is that if you can't interfere a little bit with a forechecking big forwards, the defenseman might get killed. The defenseman might get punished and punished and punished as they go back for the puck. But I think the league will adapt and make it important for the game itself and for the players not to be injured on the play. And the players will have to adapt. The players are smart. They will adapt if they're given enough penalties during especially the preseason.
This telecast presented by authority of the NHL, intended for the private use of our audience. A publication, rebroadcast, or the use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of it, including the imposition of a charge for viewing the telecast without the express written consent of the NHL, is prohibited. Dave Maloney, James Brown, Joe Micheletti, away from our center ice location with John Davidson, Mike Emmerich. McKay shot it wide. They want a party to start in northern New Jersey tonight. Not yet. Oh, and that one spiked away from Richer. Detroit trailing by 1. Richer really hit by Primo, and he went down. Right back up with it is Kozlov. Moving up with Cicerelli. Kozlov wiped out. Chambers turns it back the other way. A 3-on-2. Bobby Holik fires, and a save made by Vernon. Coffey dumped it back off. Holik moves to that one. Scott Stevens kept it alive. Rolling it around now for Richer. The Devils in the midst of a change, so he's all alone. And back up with it comes Sergei Fedorov. Big shot by him went off Danico. Stevens gave it on to Broughton. So Fedorov did not miss a shift, though it looked like he had been hurt by that hit from Randy McKay. Icing called against New Jersey. Play stopped. 3-2 Devils.
How strong is Stéphane Richer? When Primo hits people, he explodes on them and knocks them down. This time Primo went down. Richer stayed on his feet as he was part of the crash line in place of Peluso on that shift. This kid, Keith Primo, quickly becoming a star in this league, has really put forth a gutty performance here in Game 4.
Lemieux couldn't start away with it. He just throws it back out. It is a collision sport. They often play 4 times a week, especially this year. You don't get this far without being physically spent and punished. Some way or other you come up with adrenaline, and welts may not heal faster, but you don't pay as much attention to them at this time of year. 26 teams started it in January, and now we're down to these 2.
the Devils don't change their style. The fans can feel it. Look at the smiles. They can feel it. They saw it happen across the river last year. It's got to be nothing worse than an opponent that's a direct opponent getting it done. Ranger fans sure aren't happy right now. It's like the Devil fans were not last season.
It is Driver weaving his way through center. Again, Vernon watches as it comes along near Doug Brown. Muscled behind for Bob Rouse. Kept by Driver. Shoots one that ricocheted to Lemieux. Lemieux to Carpenter. Pad, stop Vernon. Richer a shot, and that blocked by Coffey.
Richer getting double shifted, and that's a great vote of confidence by Jacques Lemaire, the head coach of the Devils. Richer getting a lot of ice time here. Vernon with another good save on the offside. And the fans respond once again. Jacques Lemaire has a philosophy. He wants to force the man with the puck to make a play before he wants to. And that creates turnovers. It creates offense. It creates good defense. And his team lead 3-2 with 13:51 to go.
Isn't it marvelous how sports can unite a community? We saw that last weekend in Detroit. Banners hanging all over the city. The city's talk is hockey. The region's talk here in the metropolitan area, particularly in northern New Jersey, is hockey right now.
Both teams have done a good job in blocking shots.
Ramsey again to Stu Grimson. LaPointe trying to get there but can't. Wedged by Niedermeyer. Rolled around by Albaline. Chipped along by Mike Peluso. Hacked back in by Ramsey. And into the third row. The Detroit system that they employed tonight and tonight only. How do you summarize it now that we've seen it for about 45 minutes or more?
Well, during the regular season, they had something called a left wing lock, where the centerman and the right wing would go in deep, Mike, and try and force things. The left winger would stay all the way back, almost up at the blue line, to help the defenseman if the other team came out with a puck. That hasn't worked against the Devils. They haven't been able to forecheck against the Devils. They haven't been able to get through and cause turnovers. So they've decided to try and wait a little bit, be more patient. And so far, knowing it's a one-goal game, it's worked for them. They're in the game. Now time becomes their enemy more than anything else.
You may have heard a chant. It was, "We want the cup," but coming in is LaPointe. Lost control, centered one that went off of Brodeur. Now Coffey a shot. Oh, and Brodeur got a piece of that one. Turnaround play, and it's blocked aside by Bobby Holy.
Right, Peluso went off, and the lane opened up over there, and all of a sudden it was a partial breakaway. That didn't work. Then Coffey had the chance, and Brodeur was there with a big one. A big save.
Grimson holding back McKay. Now Niedermeyer can rip it back in. Right on goal, and McKay seemed to be hurt, is headed to the bench now on a change. Maybe it was just his line coming off, but he was slow to get up and start to the bench after he'd been held down by Grimson. Angled back in. Big scoreboard clock above center ice, winking in time with the one you see in the upper left. Skipped along now for Ralston. Brian Ralston walking it ahead, and a drive is saved by Vernon. Rebound! Spiked wide! Breland came charging to the slot. Now it's Ralston again. Breland all alone in front. Score!
Feel it now. A two-goal lead with 12:14 to go. This shot is stuck. But watch the Devils with their tenacity. That's one loose puck they've gotten to. Watch them continue to work the boards. There's another loose puck. Look at Breland in front. He got rid of his check. And he just turns and 360s the puck in past Mike Vernon. Shot the save, and the Red Wings never recover. Loose pucks. And it's been Detroit trying to battle for them. And here, watch this play by Ralston into Breland. What a beautiful pass, and Breland had time to beat Mike Vernon. Vernon moves across. Breland, as you see, sweeps the puck inside the goalpost. 4-2 Detroit. And you can sense everywhere, they're starting to feel it. Larry Robinson with a 2-goal lead. And this team is so good with a lead. They're saying Detroit has not registered a shot this period. They maybe think that Coffey missed the net on Brodeur. That great opportunity less than a minute before the Devils scored their 4th goal. Did Brodeur make the save? Coffey was in front. Here's the pass. It caroms out front. He may have missed the net, caught the outside of the goalpost. If that's true, Detroit has yet to register a shot in the period. There's 12:14 to go. New Jersey has the 2-goal lead, and did they work for it?
A young man who played last year in Russia, last fall in Albany, New York, with another team that won a championship eventually, the farm team of New Jersey, the Albany River Rats, and now his first career playoff goal. Breland from Ralston and Bill Guerin at 7:46.
Not often in any sport do you see the major league team win a championship when the Devils are close, and their farm club win the minor league championship. They did that in the American Hockey League under the tutelage and coaching of Robbie Fatorik, a former NHL player. This organization's deep, they're good, they're well coached, and they now enjoy a 2-goal lead.
Vernon hands behind. Lidstrom bumped it back off the boards. Kozlov took it there. Gives it back over to Nicholas Lidstrom, through to Fedorov. Tied up by Driver. Fedorov with a lot of stutter, stops and starts. The pass is off Coffey. Lemieux brings it back. Watched by Lidstrom, he just angles it back in.
And he made sure he got the puck deep. Now the Devils can make a change. Smart play by Lemieux. Nothing fancy whatsoever.
That one flown by Coffey, no icing. Brodeur got help from Driver. Dumped along for John McLean. Then over for Chorsky and back down. Detroit trailing by 2. New Jersey splendid on the road, particularly with 2-goal leads that are almost like 3s or 3.5s. At home, they are good too, but their record shows the dominance that they had on the road in these playoffs with record-setting performance. Here they have the 2-goal lead. Detroit will see a lot of the trap. They'll try to break it with speed like that. Yzerman trying to get by, chopped at one, and it's scooped up by Brodeur. That's in games 4-0. That's what they'd like to see. Right now, it's headed that way, but it's 4-2 on the scoreboard, the Devils ahead. Yeah, it's been magical for them, that 4 spot. Konstantinov trying to shake loose, gives over to Yzerman. 9-year captain of the Red Wings, hands it on now for Draper. Punched it around behind. The bear hug by Lapointe, the spin on Stevens, they can't clear. Lapointe stood up by Stevens again.
Konstantinov in, the defenseman for Detroit will be in on the offense as much as possible now, as they have to do anything and everything to try and score. Broughton took the last face-off, and when New Jersey moved the puck out of the zone, he went right to the bench in favor of Breland. So Jacques Lemaire trying to do everything possible to be smart here and not make a mistake from the bench to give Detroit life or a chance to score. Now the crash line comes on to meet up with the big boys for Detroit. Krushelnyski, McCarty, and Grimson.
Boy, you can see the fatigue, can't you? More adrenaline has to be drawn on as we head down the stretch of this one.
Larry Robinson really working over on the bench. Scott Stevens massaging his back, talking to him. Stevens has to be exhausted. He's played against all the best players throughout the playoffs and has been simply outstanding. And Larry Robinson, the coach of the defenseman, is just working and keeping him pumped.
Thrown back in by Bobby Holik. Set up by Vernon. Taken by Coffey. Bumped by Richer. Out in front. Backhander by Holik was blocked by Vernon. He's still down. Around behind, it's Richer again.
That's why Richey's getting double shifted here a number of times in the third period.
Bobby Holik once more. But this time Mike Krushelnyski is up with it and starts it up for Detroit. Able to lay it off. Wants to get his own pass. Spun around. And then a freight train hit from behind by Grimson, and there'll be a penalty coming up. It'll be on Detroit. 9:36 to go in the third. The Devils will have a man advantage and 2 goals on the board.
Cicerelli tied up with Albalene. He missed with a wild slash, and then Grimson came in and just took a shot to the back of the head. You see knocking the helmet off. That's a silly penalty in this stage of the game with 9:36 to go. It just was absolutely unnecessary. Even if the Detroit Red Wings killed off this penalty to Grimson, it knocks 2 minutes off the clock. 9:36 to go, and Scotty Bowman's team is down by 2.
Driver over to Niedermeyer. Bruce Driver again, and Niedermeyer once more. John pointed up the difficulty of that penalty because it takes 2 minutes off the time that Detroit desperately needs. Here's Bill Guerin moving along with it. Guerin shook it back in deep. Chopped at by Coffey, kicked at by Breland. McLean points it to the back. Driver loads the gun. Fires, deflected, and went wide. Rebound, shoveled into Vernon by John McLean.
Amazing how the backboards here act like a trampoline and just ricochet the puck right back in front. This morning, the Devils worked on their power play, and they did a lot of drills where they missed the net on purpose to get the puck out from behind the net in front to somebody open. There's McLean, does a good job getting the puck out high. The shot is deflected wide. McLean's just standing there waiting, and he had a stick on the ice. Vernon had to go down quickly. He cannot go out towards the man who's shooting the puck now, because look how quick the puck comes back off the backboards. So Vernon had to recover by getting himself down and stop the puck that was bouncing on McLean. The puck has jumped around a lot in this game. They have other events here, not only hockey. The Power Rangers, I think, were here yesterday. Detroit, 1 shot. And we're past the midpoint of the third period.
The scoreboard is not urging them on now. They're making a lot of racket that has just started as the Devils tried their attack that failed. Kept alive now by Niedermeyer. Floated by Richer. Mike Ramsey there for Detroit's defense. Richer moving to it. Broughton crunched by Konstantinov. Played again by Broughton. Neil Broughton in some traffic. Flipped it into Konstantinov, and he cleared it out of play at the Detroit bench. So again, play stopped. 59 seconds still for Detroit to kill.
Detroit has one shorthanded goal in the game, but you can sense here that New Jersey has the 2-goal lead, looking for what's inside that trunk. And they're not going to take even chances on their power play. They're trying to play it wise, trying to play it smart. That's a beautiful thing there, Mike. That's a beautiful thing.
When you consider that you get your name on it, and it stays on it, unlike most trophies that are presented anywhere in any kind of athletic endeavor, your name is on there and it stays. One thing they did have to do a couple of years ago was to remove one of the rings on it. That ring with a lot of names on it from the 30s and 40s is at the Hockey Hall of Fame. They just needed more room. They didn't want to make that trophy any taller. But it is impressive when it's wheeled out, and it's done with gloves on. New Jersey looking for the first time that they can get their names on that. And only 2 of the Devils have ever been on a Stanley Cup champion. Fetisov throws a little bit of a scare into Detroit, but the pass went off Bob Airy. 28 seconds on the Devils' power play. Breland banks it back in, and it's Vernon. Cranked around by Rouse. Kept by Chambers and pitched further. Bill Guerin rolls it along. Taken by John McLean. McLean back to Chambers. Chambers waits. Shovels one that's deflected wide by Guerin. McLean again and back to Chambers. 7 to go on the power play. Stevens snubbed one wide. Bill Guerin goes down. Breland peels off with it. Sergei Breland back to the point. Stevens fires, deflected in front. They jam away at it, and coming back with it is Breland. Penalty time is up. Thrown to the slot. Chambers a drive. Score!
carbon copy. Second goal in the game by Chambers, both after a Devils power play had just expired. Chambers with a big shot. I mean, a rocket. Everybody for Detroit on one side of the ice. Chambers is wide open. And he has one terrific, heavy, hard shot. Vernon beaten high to the catching glove side, exactly where Chambers beat him before. It's a 3-goal lead, 5 by the Devils, 2 by Detroit. And the cup's going to be theirs. There's 7:28 to go. Detroit's only had one shot in the period. There's nothing there to say that Detroit will come back in this one.
Sean Chambers has family back in Detroit, and he has family in Florida. He was traded here by Tampa Bay just around the time that a young son was born. Because of the press of the schedule, he has only had the opportunity to see his newest about 3 times. He's going to have quite a present to take down to him next time he sees him in Florida after this season's over. Scotty Bowman has been a part of a lot of championships. Chin extended, still gamely coaching his team here with 7:28 to go. His team trailing one of his former players' teams by 3.
Scotty coaching without a contract. I hope he's back. I hope he's back. If not with Detroit somewhere, he's an asset to the National Hockey League. Mike, in the first period, Detroit was great. They outshot the Devils early, 7-1. Since that point, the Devils have outshot Detroit 23-9. They've been just great defensively. They've gotten better as the game has moved along, and they now lead by 3.
Chance taking time to the second power for Detroit now. They have 7 minutes left in which to get 3. Darren McCarty. The official scoring of the goal, puck played by a high stick. Chambers from Breland and Guerin at 12:32. The cup is ready. The champagne's chilled. Tonight's game produced by Richard Zients, directed by Sandy Grossman, studio produced by Scott Ackerson, directed by Artie Kepner, executive producers of Fox Sports Ed Gorin and David Hill, our associate director all season Rich Russo, broadcast associate for the season Eric Shanks, and our technical crew wonderfully managed by Bob Muller. Here is Jersery with a shot that is stopped off. Rebound, and Vernon had some help, and then it comes out in front. Holik to the back. Albalina shot. That knockdown. Turnaround by Jersery is blocked. Cicerelli up with it for Detroit. Off a broken stick, it's taken by Jersery and laid on back to Niedermeyer. Scott Niedermeyer, circle to circle. Albaline to Holik, and it's pitched back. The lead is 3. The time is dwindling. Rouse with a pass on to Cicerelli. Back to Rouse once more. Remarkable through all of this is that there have been such heavy rumors of the departure of this team over the last 2 months. You talk about having focus. Jacques Lemaire and Larry Robinson and all of these athletes. Their commitment and their performance has not wavered at all, despite daily newspaper and broadcast reports about what's going to happen in their future and the future of their family.
Most business-like team in the National Hockey League. Add skill level to it. Great talent, well-coached team. It's a wonderful story at how well this hockey club has played throughout the playoffs. And you're absolutely right, Mike. Away from all the thought of moving, they've kept focused.
Breland across. Bill Guerin fires a scorcher wide.
That's a shot!
Jacques Lemaire and Larry Robinson were a part of the Canadiens team in the mid-70s. Down to the ice went Scott Stevens, and up with it is McCarty for a shot that's blocked down. And here's Bill Guerin trying to get by Coffey. Locks him up enough. Enough for help to come from Steve Yzerman, who can bring it back for Detroit. That was the last time that a team won the Stanley Cup Championship and the American League Championship, same organization. Until this year, if the Devils go on to win it. Albany claimed their title a month ago. It is Coffey. Hands it back on for Bob Airy. Across to Cicerelli. And cranked right back in. Driver once more. Batiste off with 4:20 now to go. Yzerman the steal. Yzerman in front. Left it behind. Couldn't get a shot away. Krushelnyski peels off to the corner. Around behind for Dino Ciccarelli. Krushelnyski couldn't control. Gets it back again, though. The battle's still on.
New Jersey's playing the trap in front of their own goal now. Detroit's getting the puck, but they can't get it through. 5 bodies plus the goaltender.
Krushelnyski with the shot wide.
Still only 1 shot in the period by Detroit. 1. Not from the lack of effort, from the fact that the New Jersey Hockey Club is one great hockey club. They can talk about the trap all they want. This is a very talented hockey club with a group of defensemen that's not matched by any team in this league.
We will be continuing our coverage through the presentation of the Stanley Cup and the Conn Smythe Trophy. Will it go to Scott Stevens or that man, number 22, Claude Lemieux? Or will it go to Martin Brodeur? Every clearing toss down the ice brings a roar from this crowd. 19,040. The average in the playoffs and the average in the regular season up over 1,500 from last year. Held by Brodeur. And play is stopped.
You see the score, you see the time left, and you see a man by the name of Mike Peluso. Mike, you see him all season long. That's expressing what this means to him.
Tears of joy from the guy who put the crash into the crash line. And a lot of spirit into the dressing room. His family is here to watch him play tonight, coming from the range country up in Minnesota, where they're so proud of him. He was born in Hibbing, the same place as Bob Dylan and Kevin McHale. Those are the 2 most famous people. Well, by the end of the night, there'll be a 3rd guy, and he'll have his name engraved on the Stanley Cup later. An emotional guy, and he's the first guy here every day for practice, every day for the games, Mike Peluso. And he'll be one of the last guys to leave tonight. This will be his longest and probably his happiest day ever in hockey.
You know, you're known as a scrapper and a fighter, and you wonder if you ever have a chance to play in the National Hockey League. He credits Mike Keenan for giving him a chance to play. You have to try to enjoy the moment. My goodness. It's just, that's what it means in this sport to be able to win it. You've got some people like Tom Troisky there with a smile. You've got Mike Peluso, can't control his emotions. And you've got Jacques Lemaire with 225. He's still coaching.
Konstantinov. On to Bob Airy and back in. The chant is the same one that began in the parking lot at about 1:30 this afternoon. Let's go Devils. Ciccarelli with one that was deflected into the seats by Martin Brodeur, and again play stopped. This year we've heard so much about lockouts and collective bargaining and hyperbaric chambers and left-wing locks and neutral zone traps and boiled flying octopus. There was a great deal of uncertainty about this season, but then it came strong. From mid-January on, wonderful attendances in a number of towns, and I think the reason for that is the character of these guys. The heritage of this sport is rural Canada. The locker room, despite the adding of Europeans and Americans, is still rural Canada. It's look you in the eye, answer the question if you can. Down-to-earth guys that people love.
The sport unites everyone, though. It really does. Broughton, our player of the game, he's made a commitment since he was delivered to the Devils. Been staying in a hotel ever since he got here. That's months ago. His family was in Dallas at the time. They've had to sacrifice, and so has he. But it's worth it when you're in this position.
He's never won the Stanley Cup. 24 guys have played for the Devils, and 22 have never tasted this.
Mike, every player that dresses for the Devils in each game, they all play a major role. Some teams dress 4 lines of 6 defensemen, but the ice time is very different. Some people play a lot, others don't. Everybody plays for the Devils. Everybody's part of this team, and it's a lesson that can be spread around the National Hockey League.
Coffey with a shot that is blocked down by Bobby Holik in a 3-on-2 break. Holik moving in. Nearly got a shot away, and then McCabe fired one wide.
ice. I wonder if he can't play because of his emotion level right now.
It would not be surprising.
No. Congratulations to the New Jersey Devils and their fans and their great staff. This is very well deserved.
In the Devils locker room, a newspaper quote had the following passage underlined. We have the heart of a champion. You cannot measure it. You can only feel it. A quote by Akeem Olajuwon of the NBA champion Houston Rockets. Well, they're going to have a few quotes in the papers tomorrow.
Let's not forget about Detroit, their Red Wings, their coaching staff, and their great hockey city. They battled to get here for the first time in a long time, but they were beaten by a much better hockey club. Much better hockey club.
The championship to New Jersey. The Devils win the Stanley Cup. Celebration goes on, and some guys who made the winged wheel proud in Detroit this year are in the line to shake hands with the Devils.
For Detroit, Paul Coffey leads his hockey club as they stop, and a lot of players are hugging the red jerseys and the white jerseys. And look at Peluso. He can't drop the arm from his face. He's crying. Fetisov, Scotty Stevens, teammates, even this season before Fetisov was traded. Scotty Niedermayer will head back to Cranbrook, British Columbia, one of the most beautiful places on earth in the mountains, and just sit back and think about what he did.
Something like this comes back to you so often in your lifetime as you see Mike Peluso still brushing away the tears. This time passes so quickly, but yet it seems so long when you recount it years later.
Detroit's coaching staff, they too in line to shake hands. Look at that. We will have the Stanley Cup. John McClain. He's been the good, the bad, the ugly. The good is so wonderful. John McClain and Fetisov. There's Lou Lamoriello. There's Jacques Lemaire.
The stability came 2 falls ago with Lemaire and Robinson. Then a system, and then rejoicing. Let's check in downstairs.
Okay, here we are with Scott Stevens. You know, Scott, a year ago you were signed with St. Louis. Looked pretty happy to be going there. Here you are, standing captain of the Stanley Cup winning New Jersey Devils. How's it feel?
It's unbelievable. It hasn't sunk in yet. I can't believe it. These guys work so hard. It's unbelievable. I'm fortunate to be on a great team.
Well, you know, you can talk about the steps up the ladder that this hockey club took to get here. Can you explain a little bit about what it took to get here for this franchise?
A lot of adversity, and we stuck it out. We believed in each other, and we played for each other, and that's why we won.
Now, you get a chance to go home now. You've been on the road. How happy are you to go home as a winner?
It was a big motivation factor. There's guys that are away from their families and kids that were just born. We wanted to win the game tonight, and we want to go home and enjoy ourselves.
Well, thanks an awful lot, Scott. Congratulations. We're going to throw it to Mike Emmerich up top.
Thanks a lot.
Good boy.
Earlier, Scott Stevens said in this playoff series, you have to have fun or you'll be eaten alive by the pressure. The fun has begun. We'll be back with a Conn Smythe presentation, too, in just a moment. A sweep for the New Jersey Devils, and the moment is at hand for the presentations of the Stanley Cup, the dream of guys like Neil Broughton, who does have a gold medal from the '80 Olympics. They asked him how that would compare with the Stanley Cup, and he said, wait till I win it, and then I'll tell you. Well, hopefully we'll hear from him before all this is done. They are bringing the Conn Smythe Trophy out now. That is awarded annually to the player judged to be most valuable to his team in the playoffs.
Last season, Brian Leetch of the New York Rangers won that award. Larry Robinson, the assistant coach with New Jersey, has won the award. It's a very special award to be your best player at the biggest time of the season. And nice to see Mike Peluso's caught himself. Yeah. Martin Brodeur, his father's on the ice. His dad's one of the photographers here in this game.
The Conn Smythe Trophy is awarded to the most valuable player in the Stanley Cup playoffs. It goes to Claude Lemieux.
Claude Lemieux started the playoffs against the Boston Bruins and knew his assignment was going to be going against a great player, Cam Neely. He said he had nightmares before the series started, just thinking about it. Now look at this, and is he appreciated by his teammates?
Claude Lemieux, one of the great characters of the game, one of the hated figures by opposition fans because he's pesky, and he has been a prolific scorer in these playoffs, and he gets the trophy now from the league commissioner, Gary Bettman, and shares it with the fans.
Maybe next year, coaches on other teams will have to worry about Lemieux instead of having Lemieux worry about the other players. He is a terrific big-time performer and has been all throughout his NHL career. And look at the tears and what it means to him. Oh, my goodness.
He has a brother back in Quebec. His brother has been limited since birth. He has dedicated a number of things in his life to his brother, who's very near him in age, and I'm sure this is one of them. Has another brother who played in the NHL for some time, too.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the Stanley Cup. The Devils' amazing playoff run has taken the term teamwork to a new level. Congratulations to the Devils, John McMullen, Lou Lamoriello, Jacques Lemaire, and the players. Scott Stevens, this is for you.
It goes to the captain. Then there are handoffs during a skate around the ice. We'll just let you watch and listen. John McLean, Bruce Driver, and Ken Danico, the three senior guys on the franchise who have been with an awful lot of the frustrating early years of this team, now are the first beyond the captain to get to raise it high.
Kenny Danico injured his knee earlier in the season. That's the main reason they made the trade, to get Sean Chambers. They thought he was done for the season. Danico defied the odds, made it back, and was significant in helping his team become the champions they are.
Shero often said they're children playing a children's game. And Randy McKay almost fell with it. The interesting thing, while some of these guys have been holding it up, others have been jumping up and down and hugging like 7-, 8-, 9-year-old mites.
It's a playoff stretch that sometimes lasts 2 months of battles and wars and battles and wars. And this is the result. It's not about money. It's about championships. It's about team play. And he is like the father to this club. And I think he's enjoying just sitting and watching his team celebrate as he once was a player doing the same thing. Talking about head coach Jacques Lemaire. You know, Bobby Carpenter's in there. He was holding the cup up. It wasn't long ago Bobby Carpenter was playing for the Boston Bruins and fell into the boards and shattered his kneecap. And wasn't sure if he'd have a future in hockey. He now has a championship.
Dave Maloney has the Conn Smythe winner alongside. Dave.
Well, here we are with the Conn Smythe winners. Mike Emmerich suggests, Claude, you've been a big game player your whole career. I want to tell you, this has been a big run for you. To get any better than that? Well, you know, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my teammates. I can't believe that I won the Conn Smythe trophy, but you know, I played well, but the guys played unbelievable, and the guys that came up big for us tonight, what an incredible feeling. Chambers, Broughton, you know, Brillon, this is what our team is all about, and it's just an incredible feeling. Well, can you compare, you know, you won a cup with Montreal. Can you compare these two wins at all?
This is so different. I can appreciate every moment of it, because in '86 it was like a dream came true that it happened so fast. And now I'm going to enjoy this one. It took me 9 years to get it back.
Can you speak a little bit about the significance of Jacques Lemaire?
You know, New Jersey Devils, Jacques Lemaire, you know, that's what it's all about. The minute that he came here, this team was a new team. And we believe in him. We believe in his system. And we got a cup for him, and I think he'll be the happiest man ever.
Well, congratulations. Enjoy your off-season. Thanks for coming. We're going back to Mike Emmerich.
Thank you.
David, thank you very much. Some more carrying of the cup, and now taking it over near the glass where some of the fans can see it better. And a tribute to the New Jersey fans. So often there have been cases where fans have wound up going onto the ice in situations like this. This is a player's moment. And congratulations to those fans. They've recognized it as that. They're enjoying it too, but they're staying away from this special moment for the players. Joe Micheletti is downstairs with Detroit coach Scotty Bowman.
Scotty, you had a heck of a year, but you came up a little short. What happened in the finals?
Well, I think we got behind. You know, we lost a couple of real tough games at home, and then we really ran into a team that was at the top of their game. They're a big, strong team. They really know how to play good defense, and when you do that, you're going to win a lot of games, and they won a championship, and they deserved it.
Your contract expired in June. Can we expect you to be coaching next year?
Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem working out a contract with the Detroit Red Wings. I just said all along that I would sit down after the season. You know, there are some priorities to check with my family, my health, and make sure that everything's okay. But I enjoyed the year. Our team really put out. You know, we got close to the top, but we didn't get to the top.
Scotty, thanks for your time. Mike, let's go back up to Sarah CU.
On a night that was not good news for Detroit, Scotty Bowman's return and willingness to work something out, hopefully, is good news for Detroit. The celebration goes on. Jacques Lemaire holding the cup that his team won tonight. James Brown after this.
So the Stanley Cup has been awarded for the 125th time since 1893. And the name etched on 1995's version, the New Jersey Devils. And folks, for the 17th time, there has been a sweep in the NHL Finals since 1939 when the format was shifted to a 7-game format. And folks, I tell you, it has been an outstanding run for the New Jersey Devils, and we certainly congratulate them. Tonight's broadcast also signals the end of our first season of NHL telecast here on Fox. And for those of us at Fox Sports, the start of this partnership was marked by the enthusiasm of bringing an exciting and fast-paced sport to a wider audience with a Fox touch. And I can certainly tell you on a personal note that from the perspective of a hockey neophyte, the NHL and its players have been as accessible and helpful as any group I've ever met. And if the continued growth of this sport is reflected in other areas, folks, the future will be bright. We'd also like to thank the Canadian Broadcasting Company for invaluable assistance provided to us here at Fox throughout the year. So for Joe Micheletti, John Davison, Mike Emmerich, my partner Dave Maloney, and all of us here at Fox Sports, folks, we will see you next season on the ice. And don't forget that the next time we'll come your way, it'll be on August the 12th when the NFL on Fox returns, Dallas and Buffalo from Toronto. I'm James Brown. Good night from New Jersey.